Most people don't fall behind because they work less. They fall behind because effort was doing all the work. So when they slow down, output drops, things then pile up, and life starts moving faster around them. That's why work less, live more sounds good in theory, but almost never works in practice. It's not because people don't want it badly enough, and it's not because they lack discipline. It's because nothing replaced the effort that they removed. Working less only works when something else carries the load. In this video, I'm going to show you a system that keeps output high even when you step back. I call this the work reduction system. It's 5 rules that remove the exact pressure points that make work expand and pull you back into overworking yourself. Let's start with the first one, the value test. Your days feel full, but when you look back at the end of the week, you can't actually figure out what you even accomplished. That's because not all work deserves equal energy. And most of what feels urgent doesn't actually create value. Every task you do falls into 3 categories: creating value, maintaining value, or draining value. Creating value means the work moves something forward. It builds, it sells, it improves, it connects. This is the work that's going to compound over time. Maintaining value means the work keeping things running. It's necessary, but it doesn't exactly move the needle. It's the oil change, not the road trip. Draining value means the work that actively pulls you backward. It's low impact, busy work that feels productive, but leads nowhere. Here's the problem. Most people treat all 3 categories the same. Think about Jeff Bezos as an example. He's got this concept of one-way door decisions or two-way door decisions. One-way door decisions are the kind of decisions that you make one time and they're really hard to reverse. Two-way door decisions are those kind of decisions that you can make a decision on it and you can always change your mind tomorrow and it's not that big a deal. And the issue is that most entrepreneurs think that every decision is a one-way door decision, and thereby they think they need to be involved in everything. You see, work must earn its place. If it doesn't create value or maintain something essential, it should get removed. And here's what nobody really tells you about this. Removing low-value work, it's not laziness, it's not avoidance, it's the prerequisite for sustainable output. Because if you're spending energy on work that drains you, you're not only wasting your time, you're actively just making it harder to do the work that actually matters. Here's where most people get stuck. They remove the low value work and then they're still overwhelmed because removing work is only half the battle, which brings us to rule number 2, the replacement law. Work doesn't just disappear when you decide to do less of it. It's going to persist. And the reason it persists is because too much depends on you personally. Most people try to eliminate responsibilities, but that's not how freedom works. Freedom comes from redesigning where your work lives. So let's look at McDonald's as an example, right? They famously made the creation of a burger easy enough that teenagers could go and get jobs at McDonald's and complete this thing. By viewing it as a step-by-step assembly line where each person specializes in a given part of it, you can have a consistent burger made wherever you go in the world. And your business is not all that different than this. You need to go and kind of McDonaldize your given business, right? By going and thinking about the core steps that the customer goes through when they work with you, right? All the way from maybe hearing about you to going and telling their friends, and then making sure that that stuff is systemized, that you have a systems designer in charge of owning that given area so that you can remove yourself from it and be the person that works above the machine versus being lost inside of it. You see, right now, work lives in one of 3 places: in your head, on your calendar, or inside infrastructure. When work lives in your head, you're the only one who can do it. You're the bottleneck. When work lives on your calendar, you're still doing it, but at least now it's scheduled. It's visible, it's contained, but the issue is it's still dependent on your time. When work lives inside of infrastructure, it runs without you. It's a system, it's a process, it's delegated, it's automated, it's documented, and you're not trying to do less. You're moving from everything being in your head to everything requiring your time to now the infrastructure in place so that things can get done without you. And the shift here changes everything for you. When you stop asking, how do I eliminate this? And start asking, where should this live? The result is that everything gets easier. The goal is to really redesign responsibility so that stepping back doesn't cause everything to break. This is how you remove system dependence and how you move from being the hero in your business to the actual CEO. Before we go further, if you already suspect that stepping back would cause things to break, that's not a character flaw. It's structural. I put together a work reduction system self-audit that maps these exact rules onto your own work so you can see where effort is still acting like the engine. That link is below, and you're going to want to go and use that to go understand the rules that are currently breaking in your business. But even as you start removing low-value work and migrating responsibilities, there's still one hidden trap that most people fall into, and it's the reason work never actually ends. Which brings us to rule 3, the finish line rule. When was the last time you felt done? Not tired, not out of time, like actually done. If you can't remember, it's because you never defined what done even looks like. Most people operate without some clear finish line in mind. They work until they're exhausted, until the day ends, and they just keep repeating this cycle. But the thing is, they never stop because the work is never complete, and that is not sustainable. It's mentally exhausting because your brain's never actually able to shut off. The finish line rule really says this: every task needs a defined output, a standard for good enough, and an explicit stopping point. Because perfectionism isn't the problem, an undefined output is the problem. This is proven in Parkinson's law, right? Work will expand to the time that you give it. I know this right now, I'm writing my book. I found that, if I give myself 2 years to complete it, I'll just gradually chip away, and it's gonna take that book 2 years to get written. On the other side, right now I'm giving myself, hey, 2 months, Matt, you got to get this damn thing shipped. Peter Thiel famously said, take your 10-year goals and then go and get them done in the next 6 months, right? And this is just an example of Parkinson's law working its magic. Giving yourself a clear deadline to get something done. When you don't know what done looks like, you keep polishing, you keep tweaking, you keep second guessing, and the work never ends. But when you define the finish line, something shifts, right? You get permission to stop. And that permission is psychological relief. Clarity gives permission to stop. And stopping is how you reclaim your life. But here's the thing, even when you define the finish line, if your calendar doesn't match your priorities, none of this works. Which brings us to rule 4, the calendar reality check. Your calendar doesn't lie. You can tell yourself you're focused on the right things, but your calendar will always tell the truth. Most people design their calendars around coordination. Meetings, then calls, check-ins, then updates. Stop trying to squeeze all your creation into just as much in as little time as you can, right? Because that's kind of backwards. The calendar reality check is really how you go and solve this. It's gonna invert your calendar. Creation comes first, coordination section, reaction last. Block time for founder flow before everything else. Time where you can just go deep on a task. Treat this like the most important meeting you have because it genuinely is. And then schedule whatever shit you have around that. The calls, the check-ins, the updates, they're not the priority. And reaction, things like emails, Slack, emergencies, try to cut as much of that stuff as possible. Here's why this really, really matters, okay? Time design beats time management. You can manage your time perfectly, right? And still lose. Because if you're just reacting all day and if you're coordinating all day, you're not actually creating. And creation is what moves things forward. You go from feeling constantly behind to finally feeling in control. From feeling reactive all the time to feeling intentional. Even if you go and you invert your calendar, even if you design your days around creation, there's one final rule that determines whether any of this lasts, which brings us to rule 5. Longevity is the requirement. Most people think ambition means intensity. They think that success requires maximum effort, maximum output. But that's not ambition. That is burnout in the making. Ambition isn't about how hard you can push. It's about how long you can last. And so the only way to last, though, is to choose a pace that you can sustain for years, not just weeks. And so here's the question that really changes everything. Could you keep doing this for 5 years? We can look at longevity even outside of business, right? When you look at Olympic athletes that are training for, the 100-meter dash, they're not running all-out 100-meter dashes every single day for 4 years leading up to the Olympics. It's about timing things. They gradually kind of move up to peaking at the actual Olympics themselves and making sure that they're managing energy along the way and managing their training so that they're able to perform at their best. And entrepreneurs in many senses are like athletes. It's not just about working full tilt every day. Things like rest, rejuvenation, relaxing are important so that you're able to be at your peak when you need it and then able to kind of just stay grounded and in your zone when you're not required to work at that level. Because truthfully, it's not about sprinting every day. It's about being at a sustainable pace for the long term. If you find that you're working 12-hour days, if you're skipping meals, if you're sacrificing your sleep, if you're missing the things that actually matter to you, you're not building a business. You're building a timer until just everything breaks. And when it breaks, you don't just lose momentum, you're gonna lose years of your life. So the 5th rule, I think, is the most important one. Choose a pace that protects your health, your relationships, and the enjoyment of the work. Because success isn't extreme. Success is repeatable. And here's what nobody tells you about working less. We only get around 4,000 weeks on this planet. Most people don't think about that because most people are so busy working, so busy reacting, so busy trying to keep up that they forget that life is short. Work design is more than just business, right? We're talking about lifestyle design here. At the end of the day, humans, founders, builders, we only get one life to live, and time is by far our most valuable asset. When you think about Bronnie Ware in her book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, one of the main things that people go and regret is that they worked so much. When we're going and building, right, we can get so passionate and obsessive about what we're building that we lose track of the things that actually make life vibrant. The relationships that we have, playing, adventure, going and getting outside and creating memories and experiences that we'll always remember. I just want to say this to you as a friendly reminder, right? Just to make sure that along the process of building, you don't, lose track of what's most important, which is living. If this video helped you see why working less has felt impossible, the next step isn't trying harder to apply it. It's understanding where your system still depends on you. That's exactly what the work reduction system self-audit is for. You can go and fill that out, and if you want help redesigning what its surface is, book a call and bring it with you. You can go and book that call below. We'll get on a conversation to help make all of these learnings become real. And listen, building like this, it's not meant to be a solo game. And that's why I built FounderOS. It's a community of people that all believe that you can have a vibrant life and a vibrant business. A place where ambitious founders help each other build systems that scale freedom, not just revenue. We're a tight-knit group that believes that we're stronger together and that no founder lets another founder fail. It's no fluff, just founders who actually build. You get direct access to my team, the systems we use to run multiple 8-figure brands, and a community of people who really embody the values I've gone over here. If this is interesting, you can go and check it out via the link in the description. And if you love this video, you love this next video on how you can go and build systems to work less instead of working harder and get really in the nitty-gritty of how to build the most beautiful business in the world. So go check out this next video and let's win together.